Hello and welcome to my review of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I am here to tell you why this is not a good movie. Everyone has been praising this and saying that it is just absolutely amazing, and I am here to tell you why it is definitely not. Now, two things you have to know to have a chance to understand where I'm at. I haven't played the Sonic games, and I have not seen the first Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, for you, that might be what makes this review irrelevant. That might hurt my opinion on the movie because you might think that well that just doesn't matter then. Personally, I think that the issues I have with this movie, they don't really have anything to do with the fact that I haven't played the games or haven't seen the first movie. I've tried my best not to let that factor in to my enjoyment of the movie. And in some ways, I would say that maybe that makes my review the most objective of any review, because what I've seen is people praising this movie and loving it because they have played the Sonic games and just have a bunch of nostalgia. That's not the case with me. I have no nostalgia for these games because I haven't played them. Now, do I know what it is? Of course I do. And therefore I can appreciate and think it's a bit of fun to see Sonic do the Sonic things. But when I'm watching a kid's movie, there are two things the movie has to do. One, it has to be enjoyable for kids, and I definitely think that this movie is. I think kids are gonna have fun with this movie. But thing number two that is equally important is there has to be something for adults to latch onto, and not just fans of the source material. I think if you want to make a good movie for as many people as possible, you have to have some sort of theme or emotion for adults to latch onto. And there is none in this movie at all. If you like the characters, of course, there's that to latch onto. But if you're just someone watching the movie because you heard it was a good movie, there's nothing for you to get in this movie. There is absolutely nothing. The messaging and the themes are all generic as hell. And the acting and the dialogue is just cringe as hell. I was literally just trying to hug myself because I just didn't want to be in the movie theater because it was so cringe. Now, what does elevate this movie is Jim Carrey. When I was a kid, I loved Jim Carrey. And he showcases in this movie why he's so beloved. Because he does bring everything he is good at. But the issue with that is, even though I enjoyed this performance, I really did. That was the one element of the movie that was really great. It also reminded me of why I have grown out of loving and adoring Jim Carrey. Because when I was a kid, I really appreciated that bombastic, unnaturally energetic acting style that Jim Carrey had. But now I've grown more into something like a Ryan Reynolds that is still that is still very, very, how to even describe it. It is still right there in your face comedy, but it is not as over exaggerated. I think it's a bit more subtle, to not say a lot more subtle than Jim Carrey. I still love the man. I think he is great. And he will always hold that place in my heart because I loved him so much as a kid. But I don't love him to that degree anymore. He is fun, though. And he is a lot better than everyone else in this movie. And I do think he brings a lot of charm and charisma to the movie. Now, the story in it of itself is also just extremely generic and predictable. There is not one single element where I was like, oh, that's a bit surprising. No. Every single aspect of the movie is predictable. And honestly, the movie was just boring to me. I was so close to falling asleep because there was just nothing in this movie for me at all. I didn't think that any of the action was really that exciting. Maybe when Knuckles and Sonic meet for the first time, there's a bit there, but overall it was just boring, like really boring. Now, the things that dragged this movie up: Jim Carrey, as I mentioned, and Idris Elba as Knuckles. Idris Elba's voice is just magical. He is absolutely perfect in this role, and he dragged it up a bit. But in the end, this is not an enjoyable movie if you're not a kid or a fan of Sonic. Like, unless you're a hardcore fan of Sonic, I it's difficult for me to see you enjoying this movie. It is extremely cringe, extremely generic, extremely predictable, and has no themes or messages or emotions to latch yourself onto. It's strange credibility, like there's a car crash during the third act of the movie where no one is hurt, and I mean, maybe that's not something you should think about when you're watching a movie where Sonic is brought into the world of real people. But yeah, it's strange credibility in that manner, and therefore, it's not the worst movie I've seen this year. It's definitely not. I've seen some garbage this year, but it is one of the most disappointing movies I've seen all year. I expected a lot because I've heard people praise the first movie, and I thought, well, great, then this is gonna be good, and it definitely isn't. Because it does like do its job when it comes to entertaining kids, because Jim Carrey is fun, and because Idris Elba is great. I'm going a 30%, and that might even be stretching it. Now, if you disagree with me, which I am sure most of you will, please tell me down in the comments why you disagree with me. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, maybe more controversial opinions or just regular movie opinions, please consider clicking that subscribe button.